Hey everybody, today we're going to be pulling this Keihin carburetor from this 2003 100-year anniversary Twin Cam so that we can rebuild the carb with this James rebuild kit. We're also going to use this CV performance tuning kit as well. And we're going to take this carb out, leaving the gas tank on the motorcycle for those who want to see how that's done. If you've already got one of these carbs out and want to go straight to the teardown and rebuild, click the link up here on the top right. It'll take you to the playlist so you can click on the appropriate video in this series. I've divided this up into several videos. So now, let's get started with the removal of the carburetor. We begin with the 5/16 hex bolt that holds in the air filter cover. As I'm removing this cover, keep in mind that the fuel petcock should be in the off position. If not, the tank should be empty, so you probably want to think about doing that. This is followed by 3 7/16 bolts that hold in the air filter. Taking the filter off with the last one. A 1/2-inch socket is then used to remove these 3 posts into the carburetor. These T30 Torx will be left alone. Instead, we're going to take a 3/4, putting our hand between the motorcycle and where we're working so we don't bang it with a wrench. We're going to loosen these bolts, starting with this one first. Then the other side, again buffering with my hand since I'm knocking the wrench upward towards the tank. Always keep my other hand over here to protect the tank and the engine. Once it's loosened, they're turned out by hand, keeping in mind that there are 3 washers on each side. We'll see here that as I turn this one out, I'm only going to come out with 2, and 1 is still stuck in there. I'll grab it later because I know it's there, but it's very important to note. Same process on this side. Just remember that this bolt is the only thing supporting this part now. So as you remove the bolt, make sure you're holding on to it. We're going to expect again 3 washers when this bolt is removed. So remove the bolt first, making sure you're holding on to everything. And then once the bolt is removed, collect all your washers. With that piece removed, I'll gently remove this gasket from the front of the carburetor. Ensuring that the fuel's been shut off at the tank, I'll use a flathead to loosen the clamp from the fuel line from the tank down to the carburetor. Then I'll use that flathead at the base of the fitting here, sort of as a pry bar, just to release it from the brass fitting so that I can pull it off later so I don't damage the fuel line. Next, I'm going to loosen the choke switch off its mount using an 11/16. I really should have used a stubby wrench for this, would have been easier, but just the same, came off the mount, no problem at all. Having just opened the locking nuts on the throttle cable adjusters, I'm going to shorten them to allow the maximum amount of slack to appear at the carburetor so that we can remove the cables from the carburetor. One cable did put up a fight, and we were prepared to replace the cables as part of this project, but I wasn't going to do that now with the carb removal, so I wanted to check to make sure that I did have enough slack with one of them to do this removal, so we'll take a look. I have more than enough slack to get the job done, so we can proceed. The carb is pulled from the rubber gasket on the manifold. We hear that last washer fall that I had mentioned earlier. Popping off the fuel hose will give me just a little bit more clearance. In this case, I'm limited to only working with that slackened cable, so I'm going to bring it around to that slot so that I can remove it from there. Also, I'm going to open the throttle to give me more access to it. So I'm taking it off the track, coming around, and then just pulling it right out. Now the second one, I can push down with my fingers and align to that slot in the same technique I used for the first one, and then bring it out sideways again to remove both cables from the throttle. The choke got stuck, so I'm supporting the carburetor, working from the other side and pulling the entire choke mechanism through to free it. Now all I have is the one vacuum cable holding in the carburetor at this time. So I'm going to rest this down and come back around the other side of the motorcycle now. That vacuum hose is really on that fitting, so again, I'm going to get a flathead screwdriver under there and gently give it a twist to free up the rubber that's stuck onto the brass. After it comes up a bit, I know it broke free, and then I can pull it off safely without damaging it. At that point, there's no more connections. The carb is free from the motorcycle. So a quick summary of all the connections of this carburetor that we disconnected today. We got vacuum, and then we have choke, and we have our throttle linkages, and we have our connection to the engine side, as well as our connection to the air filter, our fuel, and that's our connections. Immediately, I'll stuff clean paper towel into the intake so the engine doesn't get contaminated. Review all the parts removed. They'll be cleaned before they'll be reinstalled. That'll be in a different video. Paying close attention to these bolts that you have 3 washers for each of them. The other bolt here, again, 3 washers, as I lost one earlier as I pointed out. So that is the removal of a Keihin carburetor from a Twin Cam 2003 100-year anniversary Harley Davidson motorcycle with the gas tank on. I hope you found this video helpful, enjoyable, entertaining, and insightful. Soon I'll be releasing the next video in this series where we'll be getting into the complete teardown of this carburetor, going through it, cleaning it, and replacing the pieces that'll be part of this carburetor's upgrade, along with the rebuild kit that we're going to be using to rebuild this carburetor as well. It's a fun project that'll keep your motorcycle running good, and it's a lot cheaper than going to a mechanic to have it done. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button to be notified of more videos like this. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?